Hello and welcome back to the Delph podcast. Today we are talking about free will.
That's my fault. Sorry about that.
This is Adam's choice of topic today. We got to talk about it. It needs to be discussed. So we're
Must be
doing it.
done.
Must be done. I'm Allie. I'm a staff therapist here at Delph Psychotherapy of Chicago.
And I'm Adam. I'm the executive and clinical director at Delph Psychotherapy of Chicago.
Please help us spread the word with this podcast. Please, please. We're not trying for fame. We don't plan to run any ads. We're just trying to add value and be helpful to as many people as possible. So please share. Word of mouth is really what we're relying on.
I really love the idea of us getting begging. Come on, guys, please.
Come on. Do it, please. Here at Delph Psych, we offer individual, couples, group, and family therapy. So if you're interested in our services, head on over to delphpsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And do check out our Substack at delphpsych.substack.com. All right, Adam, are you ready to talk about free will?
Yeah, I think it just feels to me like one of those where you can't participate in psychology and not take this on some level. It's too inextricably linked to the whole pursuit here. How can we be thinking about what it means to be emotionally healthy and not consider what it means to even be a human who has agency,
Yeah, so what would you define free will as?
Well, fair enough. I don't know. One, I think we should add the caveat in here that many a philosopher has spilled much ink on this question, and they go much deeper into it than either you or I possibly could. But at the same time, I think that we need therapists to be thinking of their own heuristics for this question, and we hope to be able to provide some of those, or clients engaging in therapy. I think the central question is, do I have agency? Do I actually have choices in this?
Yeah. To what extent do I get to have my own choices here in this situation?
Which I suppose we should set up why that's even in question. Why we would even doubt that one might have choices. There's an idea from early physics called the clockwork universe problem, where if you hypothetically knew where, this is going to get a little technical, and also I'm going to play dilettante physicist for a second, so my apologies to any real physicists. But if we know the position of all particles, if we know their direction at all moments in time, then you can kind of map out the entire universe. And if you can map out exactly what the universe is right now, hypothetically, every single thing, you know where every single particle is, and you know where it's going, then you kind of know everything that will ever happen in the future, because you know where every particle is and where it's going. And you also then can roll that clock backward and figure out where every particle was and where it came from, meaning that the entirety of the entire universe is explained. That's the clockwork universe problem.
I think you just broke my brain a little bit. But I mean, sure, but as humans with human brains, people can't determine or predict how we're gonna act and move.
Yeah, so I think of this as the kind of phenomenology perspective / maybe problem / response to that. There's a difference between what is happening physically and what experience we seem to be having. And I'm going to keep using that word seem because our brains are lying to us. The world is not as it seems. Hell, the very concept of a desk isn't what it seems. A desk is mostly empty space between electrons, between particles, etc. Right? It's mostly empty space. We construct this kind of view of what is happening around us to seem particular ways. And that's the kind of reality that we're actually dealing with. So there's kind of a level of perception, right? If I get a particle detector out, I can perceive the world at a certain granularity that you or I in our everyday context just can't. And so if we're playing at the level of psychology, we can kind of stay at the level of psychology, understanding that it is more complex below this. If we get more granular, it is more complex. There is explanatory power below this level of granularity. And we kind of need to stay at the level of psychology.
Okay. Yes. So staying at the level of psychology, how does the concept of free will come into play with what we do in therapy and how we look at like human psychology?
Yeah. Well, very quickly, I can offer one physics defeat of the clockwork universe problem.
Okay.
It's quantum physics. Quantum physics has demonstrated that you cannot know both the position and direction, velocity, if you will, of all particles at the same time. This is the Heisenberg principle, essentially, that it is impossible to know both. You can know one or the other, not both. So the clockwork universe problem does not work. Not to mention, it seems like the position of particles is maybe not really a thing. What we really have is, and nobody understands quantum physics. I certainly don't understand quantum physics. Quantum physicists don't understand quantum physics. So nobody really knows what the hell any of these things are, but they call it a probabilistic wave function, essentially. So like where a particle is kind of like a distribution of probabilities. So all of that, like what you want to take away from that is essentially that the world around us isn't definite. It's not predetermined, according to physicists. And even if it was, it's only kind of that way in a probabilistic sense, not in a defined, not with any kind of defined certainty. And if you want to dig into some of these questions, I encourage looking into, especially like Sean Carroll's work. He does a really nice job of getting distilling some of these concepts down so a layperson can at least access them a little bit. Okay, so done with physics, back to psychology. If we're at the level of psychology, then I think we have to deal with this seems like thing. It does seem to me as though I have a thought, I have an experience, I'm somewhere inside of me make a determination analysis and then action selection, and then I seem to be able to execute that action. It's possible that all of that is just an illusion and I'm not actually in control of anything. It's possible. But I seem to have this experience of free will.
Right. And I want to be sensitive too to like different people that belong to different religious faiths who, do believe that things are predestined and everything is sort of like mapped out for you. So, that's one way certainly of looking at things, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's deal with the religiosity question. So, as I understand it, most religions tend to have this kind of conversation between higher powers slash deities and individual.
Yeah.
The religions that I know the most about tend to have this sort of like a deity or a higher power or the sort of larger forces are likely to give you certain opportunities or nudges, but not typically to completely sap you of all of your experience and will, right? Typically, I think most religions retain free will. They add a layer of complexity and perhaps external kind of forces. But I think even there, if you dig into it, the majority, maybe even all of them, but I'm not sure, the majority certainly seem to retain the idea that there is still an acting person making choices within that.
Right. Like you're presented with things from the higher power, but it's up to you to respond or engage. Like you're not necessarily like a puppet sort of.
Absolutely. There's still a you, and there's still a you interacting with the world, and there's still a you interacting with a god or a deity or a higher power or broader forces or something of that nature.
Okay.
So that you acting is the kind of space that we're living in. That's free will.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah, I just wanted to like bring
No,
in that
great.
little
That's
element of
awesome.
the conversation too.
Hell yeah. Let's tackle it all.
um okay. So we're these beings that have free will, we have choices. um I guess another layer is because there's some schools of thought in the psychology world that it's like choice theory of like you are like responsible for all of the things in your life.
Hmm.
um and I feel like sometimes that doesn't take into consideration like the systems at play,
Hmm.
where it's like, yeah, you have free will and you have like choices, but like you only have so many choices because of the systems at play that are, that sort of contain you, or make it so that like you don't have the wealth of choices at your disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's highly unlikely that I'm going to become a female identified Bolivian farmer because I was born here and not there. And so the circumstances that were dealt to me kind of dictate that I'm unlikely to live in Bolivia. I'm unlikely to identify as female, and I'm unlikely to farm. Those are just the circumstances that I've kind of started with. There are still ways that I could get there potentially,
Sure,
but
but
regardless, like those are the contexts. It's unlikely that I will be a billionaire, and I'm not striving to be. It's unlikely that I will land on another planet or celestial body. Those are just unlikelihoods related to my context, my time, my space, my resources, etc. So again, there's still, I think we can kind of explore this similarly to the religion question, is there are external contexts and external forces
yes,
that lives outside of free will, but somewhere in there is still a person making choices, and perhaps those choices are forced or limited, but
right.
there's still an active person who can choose to comply, capitulate, act, revolt, um, delay, wait. All of those are potential choices. Participate, and any of those are potential choices within any given context.
Yeah, I think about even Viktor Frankl's book Man's Search for Meaning. Even when he was in the concentration camp, he had the choice of his internal state of being,
Right.
the way he thought about it, what he chose to focus on, what he chose to dwell on, um, his state of like, okay, I'm going to use this when I get out of here, even having like the choice to think from the perspective of when I get out of here
Right.
is a choice. So even when he was in a concentration camp and like seemingly had no choice over his body, over like what he did on the day to day, where he could go, where he was allowed to go, and what he was allowed to do, his internal state of being, that was still a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly right. I remember there also being an anecdote. I think it was in that book. I'm not certain, but it was around the idea of art. And I remember them bringing up that, the, if you will, free-ish time that people had, there was not very much of. So you either went and got your ration for the day, your food for the day, or you went and participated in something with some other people. And one of the things that they had done was some kind of an art gathering. People were creating art of some kind, and a fair number of people skipped their meal to do art.
I remember
And
that. Yes,
yeah,
that's coming back to me now. Like, yeah, people like I believe, yeah, they would put on like plays for each other, and there would even be some laughter, if you can believe it,
yeah,
in
yeah.
there. So Yeah,
No matter the circumstances. Well, I need to lay one more premise on us before I make the claim that I want to make here.
sure.
That premise is because it seems like we have free will, we need to act as if we do. Just the fact that it seems like we are able to actively choose what's happening to us, we need to pretend like that's the case. So it's possible that we don't actually have control over our circumstances. It's possible that we are so forced, or we're guided by unseen forces, or we're all in a simulation, or something of that nature. It's possible that all of those things are true, or one of those things is true, and it defeats the free will argument. But while we are humans who seem to be able to act in the real world to affect our surroundings to some degree, we sort of need to go with that. We sort of just need to be like, all right, well, because if I don't have free will, it sure seems like I do. But if I don't, then it doesn't matter what I pick because I don't have free will. Nothing, it's all predetermined. But if I do have free will, and it seems like I do, then what I select matters. And so if that's the case, it either doesn't matter or it does. And if it doesn't matter, then I don't know what's happening, right? Like I'm just given the experience of seeming like I've got free will when I don't. I'm irrelevant. Alternatively, if I do have free will, I better act because this is my one chance to do something.
Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. So assume you've got that power as the baseline.
Yeah, because I think if you just kind of sort of capitulate to, oh, none of this matters, everything's like chosen for me, that feels really sad to me. That feels like a really sad existence of like, yeah, nothing matters. And I'm just sort of like beholden to whatever happens to me.
But one could argue that, let's say it is sad, but it's also true. Let's say that I don't have any control over my circumstances. Let's say that it is just as bad as it seems, and there's no way out of it because my choices don't matter. I mean, how's the therapist supposed to respond?
Oh, well, okay. Like,
Why even be a
what are
therapist
we
if we don't
doing?
actually have any
Yeah.
choice, right? Like, why have this
Yeah.
therapy client relationship? We have to pretend like there's free will.
Yeah.
One, I think we're probably right that there is free will. It certainly seems like there is. But two, if we don't and we're wrong, then we've just abdicated all that responsibility that we do actually have. All the power that we did have, we just ignored it and did nothing with it. So pretend like you've got that power and do something with what power it seems like you do have.
Yeah. That feels a lot more I don't know, that's purposeful to think that like you do have choice and to make something of your life. Um that feels really encouraging and inspiring. Um and
Right.
I would like to go along that school of thought rather than nothing. I have no choice.
Yeah. But we also don't just want to pick it because it feels good, right? Like it does feel good, but we don't want to pick it just because it feels good. I also think it is the logically correct choice. It's the logically correct choice because in the one camp, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Choosing doesn't even matter. So it doesn't matter whether I think I've got choice or not. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
Yeah.
Including free will. In the other camp, again, it's close to Pascal's wager here, but in the other camp, I do have free will. Therefore, I need to act as if I do because I might be affecting things right now. And if I might be affecting things right now, I might be affecting my own experience. I might be affecting the experience of those around me. I might be affecting the experience of the broader world at large. So I got to go with that. I got to pretend like I do. And then the offshoot of that is great. So now you're within your, I'm coming back to psychology land now. We're therapists sitting in a chair with a client again. We're out of philosophy land and back to psychology land.
Okay.
So now I'm a therapist sitting in a chair looking at a client who's upset. and I've got to go with this free will thing. It is the logically correct choice to go with the free will thing. You have agency to affect your circumstances. You must. You add in the arguments that you've made earlier, right? Like, but my context is affecting me. Yes, it is. And you're still a person making choices. It seems like you have free will. Therefore, you need to act as if you have free will. And if it seems like you have free will and you must act as if you have free will, then you need to start acting in very intentional ways toward the things that you view as important.
Yeah. I like that. I think about clients that have a really external locus of control where like they're very well, this is just the way things are. Like I because of my circumstances, because of these things that are being done to me, it just is what it is, and I just have to sit here and take it. Versus the person that has a more internal locus of control of like, okay, what do I have control over in this situation? Where does my responsibility lie here? What can I do? Because yes, while it is valid and true that like there are systems and external circumstances that affect like our circumstances, we still do have that choice at the end of the day. And like it can just be really debilitating, that feeling of powerlessness of like I'm just beholden to whatever is happening to me. And there is a little bit of like those feelings of powerlessness can sort of lift if we start to think about like, okay, what choice do I have here?
Absolutely. It will feel better most likely, but it also could feel quite imposing. But regardless, it kind of doesn't matter what it feels like, because you might be affecting things right now, yourself and others. You got to go. You got to go. You got to do stuff. You got to go. You don't have any choice.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see the irony in my saying that. But yeah, we have to act like we're affecting things. And because of that, whatever emotions seem to be affecting us, we can just put that in the external camp. That might be a higher power. That might be the plight of my circumstances. It might be the difficulty of my own emotions or the complicatedness of my past. Doesn't matter. There's still a you making choices. You got to start now and make them.
Make those choices. Any last words, or you want to end it at that?
Am I dying?
No, you're not.
Any last words? Am I dying? Are you? I don't choose that.
My phrasing there was not the best.
I want to live.
Okay.
I choose life.
Great. Well, my word choice there was interesting, but no, it was, you're right. Any last words? It's very ominous. I will say. Okay. All right. I'm going to choose to move to the quote. Wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a magical solution?
It would be great, wouldn't it? That'd be so great.
It would be so great.
Man.
Where did you get this quote from?
I don't know. But I quite often hear clients like spending a lot of cognitive energy on the just right thing that could possibly happen that would just make everything absolutely all better. And this comes to mind. Like, yeah, it would be fantastic if there was a magical solution to all your problems. My gosh, that'd be awesome. Here we are. It's Tuesday.
Here we
like,
are.
we gotta deal with it.
And I think kind of bringing it back to like our whole topic of this episode, like, yeah, sure, it'd be great if some magical thing out of your control happened to like solve all your problems. But right now it's not. And what choice are you going to make?
Here you are. Person making choices. It's interesting because if you go back to the 8 domains that we've outlined, there are 2 of them that I feel less comfortable with. I argue that every therapist is a little less comfortable with some of them, 1 or more. But there's 2 that I just am not as strong in. One is the physiology stuff. Like when I listen to really insightful yogic instructors or people that have done like deep breath work or stretch work or any or yoga, meditation, etc. They've just connection with body just seems a lot more sophisticated than mine. And I'm a little envious of that. Slash, maybe I'm just grateful for and appreciative of their skill in this regard. But the other is behavior. And for so much of the mentality to come back to person making choices, I just don't like the behaviorism way of thinking. I think because of its tie to, capitalism in the 50s, etc. But the idea of person making choices and selecting actions is I think really foundationally important to just our understanding of the way that we must engage with the outside world. And so quit thinking magically, quit flirting with the idea that you have no power. It doesn't really matter. You seem like you've got power, so use it.
Yeah.
If you're wrong, none of it mattered anyway.
If you're wrong, none of it mattered anyway. Well, thank you, dear listener, for going along with us on this topic of free will today. For choosing to listen. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you stuck with us. Thanks.
As always, here at Delve Psych, we offer individual, couples, group, and family therapy. So if you are interested in a free consultation call, head on over to delvepsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And check out our Substack at delvepsych.substack.com. And we'll see you next time.
Later.
Later.